We are live.
Fantastic.
Welcome, Mr. Joel De BelleFeuille. Did I say that right?
You said it absolutely right. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy. Basically, it's the show where we talk to, I like to think super interesting people, such as yourself, for multiple reasons. Normally, it's more on the creative professional side of things, but as this election has kind of transpired and moved into its more active cycle, I was just like, oh, I don't know who to vote for. And instead of relying on the medias and all that to come through, I figured I would just go ahead and talk to y'all as much as possible, make these episodes trying to get to know you a bit better. And typically we just try to like go through people's lives a bit and understand who you are and then how the conversation flows. So in a sense, like we just do it like it would be if you were a rapper or anybody else. But in the sense that, you know, at the same time getting to learn about you, your views with the politics. And honestly, I'm kind of excited to hear about what you've been up to. I know a little bit what you've been up to, and it's actually kind of cool for like being the local Loyola city councillor candidate guy for where I'm at in terms of this. So it's really cool for you to come through and be a part of the show.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here.
So with that, we'd like to start it off almost like a chronological exploration of your life. So where do you come from? Like where are you born? Where does that start?
It's how long is this video, guys?
Yo, we can run it. I mean, my Mondays are like normally like they're longer because rappers and we're good, so I have time.
Okay, cool. I'll try and make it as interesting and as brief as I can. So basically, I'm originally from the West Island of Montreal, and a tad bit further in a city called Pancourt. I was adopted at 7.5 months by a French Quebecer, Canadian, as well as a British mother. From that sort of adoptive family, I had a sister. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. My dad had since remarried about 30 years ago. And from there, I have an adopted sister from China. I've got 2 brothers. And I also, back in 2002, found my biological family that actually ironically happened to live in NDG on the Darlington side. So I caught up with them and found out that my roots originally are from Guyana, so in South America. And I'm kind of a mix of Portuguese, Chinese, Arawak Indian, which is similar to East Indian, and Venezuelan. So I'm a good mix. So basically, grew up in Pancourt till around 13 years old. I've always been kind of a entrepreneur, sort of. I want to, do things myself to try and see, what I want to do in life and, want to continue to do in life. So I actually have skills as a barber. And when I was 13, I started cutting some of my friends' hair. And back in the day, around 1990-91, I saw an ad in the Montreal Gazette for a barbershop called Tough Cuts, which was owned by Gary T, who you probably know, Gary Thompson. So I was there for about 1.5 years. The barbershop is at the corner of Mackenzie and Victoria, up top across from the Curry House. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've had my hair cut there, all things considered. I'm pretty sure at some point in my life that happened.
So that was actually the same time while I was going to high school at McDonald High School in St. Anne's. And I don't know, I wanted to, keep cutting hair. So I actually opened up, I think it was around 15.5, 16. I opened up my own barbershop in St. Anne's on the Strip, and had that for about 3 years.
How do you open up a barber shop at 16 years? You got to go into that a little bit. You might not find it super interesting. Trust me, everyone else is going to find that super interesting.
Okay, so I started, like I said, I was working at Gary T's for about 1.5 years. I was 15 years old. was a grade 10 or going into grade 11. And not only was I cutting, obviously, clients at Gary's, at Tough Cuts, I was cutting the hair of my fellow students at Mac High. And what I was doing, I was actually cutting their hair in the girls' locker room because the guys' locker room didn't have an outlet. And it got back to one of the parents that this guy named Joel was cutting hair in the girls' locker room on lunch hour. And then, ironically, one of my friend's parents actually was getting their hair cut at an existing barbershop in St. Anne's. So it got back to me from one of the friends that said, "Hey, Sonia Jean, the barber, wants to talk to you." And I was like, "For what?" And she's, obviously she wanted to talk to me about possibly working for her. So at 16, she took me on as a barber. So I worked there, I think it was Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. And then it just kind of, spiraled out of that. About 2 years later, we had a falling out. And I was approached by a gentleman by the name of Rob, who used to own a video salon down in St. Anne's. So obviously, you've probably been to St. Anne's. But when you come in...
Yeah, I went to Abbott.
Yeah. So when you come into St. Anne's from Abbott, heading west, there's where all the taxis pull up near the Couche-Tard, where there's a little white building there. Before it goes in, it's by itself. It's kind of across the street from the Couche-Tard, 57 Rue Sainte-Anne. So he owned the video store there, and his lease was up, and he had money, and he said, "Well, look, I like the way you cut hair. I'm an investor. I'll invest in, getting this up." So that's how it works. So I got a lucky break there. So basically went back to Sonia and told her, "Sorry, I'm moving up the street. I'm going to be your competitor now." And that was great. That worked for 3 years. I got to know a lot of people in St. Anne de Bellevue. All the cadets from the police academy at John Abbott were there. That came in. I used to cut their hair. All the bar owners, Annie's, Councillor when it was around. A lot of people, as well as people from John Abbott. Then after that, so that you're looking at around 1995.
So basically, you're like everybody's therapist for 3 years.
More or less. Yeah, I listen very well. And so after that, I ventured to Cornwall. I met a girl, and I ventured to Cornwall, and that was 95 and a half, 96. And I started going back and forth from my salon to Cornwall, back and forth from my salon. But a lot of the time, the staff that I was working there were saying, "Joel, people are asking for you. You can't keep going back and forth now." So basically, the salon, kind of took a dive. I was more, engaged with trying to find love than I was to do business.
On the real, though, it's a bit of a compliment to you, though, if you think about that, right? Because the place literally required you to function.
Well, exactly. So basically after that, of course, the relationship didn't work out after, 6 months. And then, so I was basically stuck in Cornwall, the middle of nowhere. And so I got a job actually cutting hair in Cornwall at 1 Water Street. So basically there's like a big mall there, or the only mall essentially there. And I was cutting hair over there. And I got a job because there wasn't enough money at Nichols cooking. First as a dishwasher, then I kind of moved my way up. And then I eventually moved back in the ice storm 98 in January, back to Dorion. And
did the ice storm hit Cornwall?
I don't remember. I'm talking, I went back to Montreal in 98 in the ice storm, and stayed with some friends in Dorion. And started working at the Nichols I don't think it's there anymore, that used to be there. So it was just basically kind of a transfer. And at the same time that I was doing that, I saw another ad in the paper for Jack Astor's looking for a cook on Sources Boulevard. So again, I needed to, get some money. So I took that on. I went there. They essentially hired me on the spot. And then after 6 months, I became a supervisor and won Top Gun of the Year, which was the Employee of the Year.
Hold on. If y'all have not been to Jack Astor's, though, it's a vibe. It's
great. Yeah, and it used to be. I don't know how crazy it is now, but it was insane. It was a great restaurant to work at. Great place to network. Food is excellent as well. And then I've always had. Let's rewind a little bit. I've always had 2 jobs up until about 10, 12, 13 years ago. So basically a day job / a night job, and the night job would always be the restaurant. So after Jack Astor's, a friend of mine named Chris was a restaurant manager, assistant manager at the airport under Host Marriott. It's basically a group that owns all the restaurants and cafes inside the airport. So he asked me, he's like, look, do you want to try your hand at this as assistant manager? I'll speak with, my boss and see if I can get you in. That worked out. So I began being the assistant manager I was on the Canadian side. So Moe's was there, Expectations, just a few of the, regular restaurants. And so that was good. That was a difference from actually cooking the food full time. But I still had that part-time job working at nighttime after I finished the restaurant at Babalu's. You remember that? Right beside Bourbon Street. It was kind of a nightclub, supper club. And I used to work there in the kitchen. And that was in 2007. But before that, because keep in mind, we're still in.
Actually, I do remember that now that I'm thinking about it. I was in the West Island in 2007 working at the Super Club Videotron on Sources.
Yeah, but rewind that a bit. I just jumped about 6 years. While I was at the airport, I, again, was doing Babalu's, but I also wanted to kind of get out of the restaurant scene. I wanted to kind of, I wouldn't say suit, but just be more, not be so dirty all the time. And a friend of mine worked for a company called David Kurt and Viacan. They were custom brokers. And basically, she just said, look, I know you're here. I know you. I know your worth ethics. And would you like to, be a kind of a custom entry? Would you like to be a rater? So basically, any, import from the States or anywhere else in the world, you'd be rating these shipments that would come in. So I spoke with Chris. I said, look, I've been here for about 1.5 years now. It's great, but I want to try and change myself a little bit here. And I'm sorry to leave you, basically hanging, but I'm going to try this opportunity with David Kirsch. So I went there. That was very interesting. You get to see all the products, on paper coming in, kind of basically what makes the city become a city, because everything you look at is either fabricated here or it's imported. So we had a really good hand in involved with all the shipments that were coming in.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that everything that makes a city thing that you just said? I caught it, but just in case other people didn't catch it, the imported versus created here, what exactly that gives you the insight over?
Yeah. Okay. So basically wood, there's trees here, but some of the trees or the wood, so the end product could be imported from the States and finished here, right? So like a table, walls, cement, anything that you basically see is either, like I said, made here, or it's partially brought in and finished here, or the product is finished in the States and then imported into Canada, and then vice versa, going back and forth. So basically, Canada has the treaty with the States, and Quebec alone, I believe it's 2.2 billion of import exports floods back and forth between, probably not now because of the pandemic, but between Quebec and the United States. For the rest of Canada, I can't figure out those numbers, but basically custom broker just clears everything and anything that small businesses, large businesses want to bring in, and I had a hand in doing that.
So you would get to literally see the trade in action, giving you an insight.
Yeah, through documents. Yeah, through documentation. We actually had a lot of clothes importers as well, where they would buy shirts and pants in Italy. And it's crazy because the cost of goods, in Italy of shirts, like we saw real Versace clothing on, through their paperwork, where it was like $10.90 euro, okay, that they're importing, okay, and crazy stuff. So basically, you have to factor in, not that they're, I wouldn't say screwing us, but that there's a lot of extra costs of goods besides, the shirt that go into it, right? So there's transportation from A to Z, customs brokers, logistics, and so on. And then finally, when it gets to your door, it's now $150 for a pair of pants or more, right? So back to Kirsch. So I worked there. I quit there because there was another company that was offering me more money called Quebec Custom Brokers. That was in around 2004. And then I worked there for a bit, worked at Babalou's. So I was doing the same job that I was doing at David Kirsch at Quebec Custom Brokers. So all in all, I was a custom broker for about 7 years. And I worked at various restaurants as a line cook, supervisor at Jack Astor's. And then 2008, I was still on the kick of the whole transportation, import, and stuff. And so I applied for a job, I actually got asked for a job with Traffic Tech. So the owner, Brian, saw me one night at finishing my shift at Babalou's, and he had known that I had a background in transportation and logistics, and he was building his team larger, and he asked me if I wanted to partake in his business, and I told him, look, I'm working here now, but I'll give you a call if anything changes. So I think it was a couple of months later or a few weeks later, I just wanted to change again. I picked up the phone, called him, and he and the CEO, Paul, basically said, no, we've got an opening for a regional director in our South Shore office. Would you be interested? Let's go to Ribbon Reef and let's talk about it. So they brought me to Ribbon Reef, fed me lots of wine and steak, and convinced me to leave where I was and take on this job at Traffic Tech as regional director. So for about 3 months in 2008, so from March till around June, July, I did training in their office on Côte de Liesse, which has moved now to the 20. Learned what needed to be learned, and then basically gave me the keys and the reins to the South Shore office that's in Brossard, and there was about 16 people that worked there. I was there for 3 years. I met my wife there, ironically, and we've been together ever since for 13 years, and we've got a 10-year-old son who's turning 11 next month. But before that, Brian, so the owner of Traffic Tech, had told me when he hired me, he's like, Joel, he's like, make sure that there's no funny business going on between you and the staff members. Obviously, he's talking about, the women in the office. We don't want you mingling with the ladies in the office. So I said, sure, no problem. 3 years later, so that was in, I don't even remember now. I think it was 2011. I get a phone call from corporate, and I can see, it was Brian on the display, and I picked it up, and he's like, Joel. I said, yes. He's like, what am I hearing? And then I hear Paul in the background, who's the CEO. Joel, I'm hearing things. Talk to me. So I was playing stupid because I had a feeling where they were going. And they said, what is this I'm hearing? What did I tell you? What was the number one rule that I told you? When I hired you. And I said, yes, I know. He said, well, look, it's either you got to go or you got to get rid of, well, not my wife, Tony. And so I said, okay, well, let me talk to her and I'll see what's the best thing to do. And so I spoke to her, and we ended up deciding that I should fire her and then me stay on. And so we gave her a good package, and that was that. And I continued on, and then it just kind of fizzled out in around February or March 2011. And then Tony and I were kind of like, well, what should we do now? We need to, still make some money. So we used our clients that we had before, and then some that we were reaching out to basically form our own logistics and transportation company. And that was called Toll Logistics, TOLE.
So traffic tech, and I know what that is because in 2010-ish or 11, or no, around then, my ex-girlfriend at the time was working there in the Cotillas office. So I actually remember sitting out there and shit waiting for her on days. So I know I've been inside it before.
Yeah,
y'all did the truck
great.
dispatching, right? So like it's basically like y'all would have the trucks out there, and then you would match like loads to people and kind of coordinate the whole thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't have trucks. We would broker out the trucks. We would pound the phones for the trucks because we had a load that needed to move from A to B. And the truck would say it's 1,000. We charge the client 1,500, make the the profit of 500, and so on. So that's what I was doing. And then back to 2011. That's when Tony and I decided to incorporate Toll Logistics, and we had that office on the South Shore. We had 10 employees, a few dispatchers, a few sales. We purchased a cube truck because we wanted to kind of do the local deliveries as well. And we had 3 53-foot trucks that that they would only work for us. And then, things happen. We lost that business. And then it started to go downhill for us, for me. I'm not afraid to, say that. Everybody hits rock bottom. So I hit rock bottom collectively, with my family, and which was unfortunate, and was a definite life lesson. And so that was in around 2014, 15. And then 2016 turned it around, got involved in the capital markets, which is totally different than what I had essentially taught myself and learned, which was transportation and then the restaurants and stuff like that. And basically I was on the PR/IR side of things, so public relations, investor relations side of things, where I had to pitch the company to potential investors or shareholders, and basically create documentation for the clients so that they can send it off to people that were interested in partaking into the company. And that was with a company called Momentum PR, which was fantastic. I learned a lot of things. We had clients that were in the mining, tech, so gold and silver, cannabis companies. So I was working with them when there was that, the boom of legalization for both, and 2.0 for the drinks too. And then one of the clients that I had actually brought to Momentum was a co-packing company called Grow Packer. They're a U.S. company, but inked
What's
in
a
Ontario.
co-packing company?
Co-packing is basically the company companies send the co-packer products to basically repack. So like Coca-Cola has multiple bottling and co-packing companies to basically, because they can't be everywhere at once, right?
So
they'll
they're like third parties that just do packaging for other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
Grow Packer, so take that into concept that it was obviously it was cannabis and hemp that was being packaged and repackaged. Whether gummies, this is all in the States. It was a California company before legalization and stuff like that, and there's still a California company, so it was completely legal over in the state of California. So gummies, soaps, lotions, creams, basically you name it that can be infused in it, they co-pack. Beverages as well. And I was a vice president of development for them, business development, and we're bringing clients to them so that they can co-pack for them.
So basically, you had to roll with the legal side of weed and set up some business.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I would love to hear the off-cam stories you can't talk about now.
So basically, it was all the clients, of course, that I was, communicating with were, in the States, because back then, 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't, entirely legal, but in the state of California, it was. So the clients that I were approaching were, from the States that had existing licensing and products already. And I said, well, look, we've got this big facility in Desert Hot Springs, California. We can do this, and this. Are you interested? Here's a price list, and then so on. So that paid extremely well. So much so that I said, I'm leaving the PR company, and I'm fine. I'm going to, do my consulting, that is basically, paying the bills right now. And that's what I'm going to do. And then because of that, I, in 2019, I was approached or received an email, from a client, out of the States, and they were looking to basically go public on the OTC, so the over-the-counter exchange in the States. And so I guess they had heard of me through, Googling, so they sent me over the information on the company, and it was a skincare brand called Beauty Kitchen, which was formed in 2012. It's a celebrity skincare brand. And so I looked at it, I liked it, and I said, well, look, I do consulting for this other company that's a public company, and I'm an independent director for them. I think this could be a fit where it could add shareholder value to them, and it could get you what you want, which is, to be a public company. So we went back and forth. She loved the idea. We inked, so we incorporated a company about a year and a half ago called Mariana Naturals, to pay homage to my partner, whose name is Heather Mariana. She's a to B type celebrity in the States. That is the one that founded Beauty Kitchen back in 2012. So we wanted to create a company name that still had her, her name involved in it. And that is going great. I'm the CEO of Mariana Naturals, co-founder with Heather in the States. And so basically what happens is the products get manufactured and produced out of the States, out of Boulder City, Nevada. And then we ship it cross-border. I've got a warehouse here on just off Sources on Brunswick, where we store our products here. And then any sales that come through our e-commerce, if it's in Canada, it gets shipped there. If it's in the States, well, obviously it gets shipped out of our United States facility. So that's essentially me on my business side of things. Um,
I just gotta throw out there that that's a remarkably impressive CV.
Thank you.
Like,
It didn't come easy, let me tell you. When you hit rock bottom, it's really hard to um, come up if you don't have the support, the mental support from friends and family, and people that are close to you that can kind of help you kind of get back on your feet. And it wasn't me alone, right? So I had my wife and I had my son. I also have a 26-year-old stepdaughter. Thankfully, she wasn't living with us at the time, so she didn't have to go through that. But it's more or less a mindset, as well as keeping with those who do good for you. So meaning if rub shoulders with people who you want to, I wouldn't say resemble, because you have to be yourself as an individual, but if you want to possibly succeed, well, you're not going to hang around and associate with people that are negative in your life, right? If you hang around with positive people, then positive things should, I say should because nothing's set in stone, but should happen for you. And so that's what I started doing. I started just, my mindset was completely different, and opportunities just kept on falling in my lap, and that's basically what happened. But to touch a little
the
bit,
fact that you could scale from like I'm working at the random restaurant down there doing some basic stuff to, yeah, no, we just got a warehouse over here running our little e-commerce site. Oh, you little drop shippers, that's funny.
well, like I said, again, it didn't come easy. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, and just determination, basically, and that's what I have. And to touch base, because I find it's extremely important, and important for the people that are listening. Basically, I guess it's kind of what brought me to being a candidate in Loyola. Back in 2009, my family and I and myself experienced something that not essentially, but entirely changed my life, for the better. Even though, with every bad, usually there comes good of it. And that's, fortunately what happened. So in 2009, I was pulled over by police on the South Shore. And they pulled me over. I found out years later, or not years later, sorry, the next year in 2010, that DeBellefeuille sounded like a Quebecer's name and not that of somebody that was black or any other origin. Okay, so that statement alone changed my life and my family's life, like tenfold. And I found that out in court, because I had received. I was driving on the South Shore. All I drive is BMWs. Love the way they drive. It's been 17 years since I've been driving them, and they're all used. They're brand new. For some reason, an officer wanted to turn around, and after he crossed me and follow us, and I had already been pulled over about 3 times that week. Jumped out of the car, really upset, and basically said, what's going on? Why are you stopping us? I'm in the car with my wife, my dog, my stepdaughter, and her niece. My son wasn't born at the time. And what's going on? He basically said to me, he said, is this your car? Hey, guy, is this your car? And, just it was so disrespectful to just utter the words and automatically assume that the car wouldn't belong to me. I'm not going to go joyriding with a dog in the car.
Asking if you were driving your kids to school because they remember that.
Well, that's a second case. So you'll whoever that is, you'll hear me get to the second case. So basically, and so I said, well, why, like, what do you mean, is this my car? I'm not going to have my wife, my dog, my stepdaughter and niece in the car driving to go to the Dairy Queen just around the corner if I, decided to steal this car or whatever he was assuming in his head. I just did not, it didn't sit well with me. I said, and he kept on saying, is this your car? Show me your ID. And I said, no, I want to hear this from the supervisor, because I don't believe that you have the right, to ask me ask me for my identification without providing me an absolute, and that's in bold, absolute reason as to why you're pulling me over. Asking if this is your car is not a viable or legal reason to demand somebody for identification. It has to be, you ran a light, you ran a stop, you did this, right? Breach of the highway safety code. So finally, after 15 minutes, the supervisor did come and explain to me that if that was him, I would have thrown your ass in jail because you didn't provide the ID when asked. So that kind of went back and forth. I showed my ID. Then he told me, he said, you're going to get the tickets in the mail. I said, okay. One for not showing the ID to the officer and the other for lapsed insurance. So the insurance was lapsed by 2 or 3 days, and the envelope was on my, I have envelopes here, unopened envelopes on my desk, which I didn't switch out in my dash. So that was my fault. 3 months later, I was at work at Traffic Tech, and my wife, Tony, called me and she said, Joel, she goes, there's bailiffs here. I said, what? What do you mean bailiffs? And says, I think it has to do with your tickets. And so she basically, I said, well, open them. And sure enough, they had decided to, the city of Longeuil had decided to send the tickets via bailiff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. One was, I think it was $525 or $523, and the other was, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks for the lapse insurance. So I paid the lapse insurance one because I was at fault. And the other, I was just like, you know what, like this is crazy. And again, going back, $500 is $500, regardless, whatever it is. So she's like, this is expensive. Like, you did show your ID. I was there. Like, we need to fight this. So I signed the back of the ticket, mailed it in or sent it in, whatever it is that you have to do. And 9 months later, I received it's a pink sheet with basically the notice to appear to go to court. And that was for June 1st, 2010. So something, as the date approached closer of June, something in me was telling me that this was solely because I'm very matter of fact, but at the same time, a very practical person and logical person. So I was like, something is telling me here that race is involved here. Okay. But I'm not one to cry wolf. I'm not, I'll hear you first before I'm gonna, judge and stuff like that. And you don't want to throw out stuff like that because it could, hurt somebody emotionally and, career-wise as well, right? So, but I had that devil on my shoulder telling me I need to gather information. So I don't know, but what I did, I printed out I thought for some reason back then that printing out a picture of my mother and father, okay, basically show that they're white. I don't know why I did that, and that they were well known, in Quebec for doing good things. That this might help me, and I don't know. I printed out some other documentation as well. But my adopted mother, Betty Chambers, she was a professor at Concordia University. She got a doctorate there and PhD in philosophy. My father is a consultant. He's Joel De BelleFeuille. He's done work for the National Film Board, SPVM, ironically, Pratt & Whitney, and so on. So I, for some reason, thought that information would help me go to court. So I went to court, and I was told by CRAR, which you may have heard, FONIEMI. CRAR is the Center for Research on Race Relations. They're an organization that helps people with their human rights and stuff. He had told me, make sure you ask for a copy of the police report. And I'm emphasizing this to anybody who's listening that gets pulled over the police and you want to fight a case, you have to get a copy of that police report, because they're mandated that once they give you a ticket, they jump back in their car and they go back to do their paperwork at their office. They have to write a report about that, and it's available to you. So I asked the prosecutor, actually, no, she asked me, she said, Monsieur De BelleFeuille, veux-tu voir ce document-là? So I said, sure, yeah, no problem. I looked at it, the first, and there's actually a copy of the report on my Twitter page. There is they wrote in French, en circulant sur la rue Churchill, on a vu un BMW noir qui était conduit par un homme de race noire. Suite à l'enquête de la plaque, nous avons vu que le nom de BelleFeuille sonne comme un nom québécois, puis non pour un homme de race noire, ni pour une autre origine. So right there, I didn't even read, and it's what I said to you in English before. Yeah. I didn't even read the rest. I lost it, and the officers.
That's
like 10
that's
or 15. It's
that's blatant. I mean, well, you don't get more blatant than that.
You don't. And the officers were sitting, 8 seats away from me, and my blood was boiling beyond boiling. But of course, you're in court, you got to keep it cool. Can't even chew gum right in court. So I had to keep my cool. What turned out to be supposed to a 15 or 20 minutes, court case turned into a 2-hour and 45-minute court case, where the officer in question who wrote the report, stood there, yeah, I swear to tell the truth, and went on and had the gall to tell the court that in French, if I see, an Asian person with the last name Laporte, I'm going to pull him over too. If I see a woman named Catherine that's being driven by a man, I'm going to pull them over too. And I didn't have a lawyer with me, and I wasn't very well versed on, when you should talk or not to talk, but I was always wanting to talk because I just couldn't believe what I was hearing, right? 4 months later, I get the decision in the mail, which was, I was guilty. And I had to pay the $525 ticket on the grounds of the Highway Safety Code. I think it's 636 Act, where when requested to show your identification, you have to show your identification. And but yes, there was racial profiling in this case. However, there are courts that deal with that solely. So the judge was referring to the Human Rights Tribunal.
So this court was like, they totally did you wrong. You still have to pay the fee and go deal with those guys. Yeah.
So we made a big stink about that with CRAR. It was all over the news. And we appealed that decision to the Superior Court of Appeal. And they granted us the opportunity to appeal that decision. So we were there, 3 judges, Superior Court at on Notre Dame, and they heard, and I took them about another 2 to 3 months, and they came up with a decision that the judge in first instance had erred, E-R-R-E-D, on the decision, and that every judge that gets sworn in as a judge across Canada is legally mandated and obliged to hear and decide on anything that has to do with the charter. Okay, So any breach of your rights, whether it's the, Quebec Charter or the Human Rights Charter, they have to hear it. They can't just pass the buck. And so he said, this needs to go to a different judge and cannot be heard by the same one. So I got the opportunity to have my case heard by another judge, and 4, 5, 6 months later, in a 66-page decision in, I think it was November, December 2012, I won that case, and those 2 officers were cited for racially profiling me. So now they have a permanent mark on their file that they racially profiled me, that it was an illegal interception, and all over the decision was the words racial profiling, in French, profilage racial. There was so many.
We just got a question. Was there anything for the judge, or did the judge just get away with it, the one who erred? And
No, what he got was obviously bad press, because his name was peppered everywhere, littered all over the media. And I don't know what happened to him, but the 2 officers, they received those fines, citation, and they received 5 days suspension without pay, and that was it. When I say we, it's CRAR and myself, also were asking for $30,000 in damages. Okay, what we learned was that, and again, if anybody's listening, if you are whatever, if you're whatever color, visible minority or non, and you feel that your rights as a person are being violated in a stop, in an interception, you have to invoke whatever it is that you feel is going wrong with you. So in my instance, I felt that I was being racially profiled. I had to invoke that at the time of the interception. So the time that he turned on his sirens to follow me and stop me and say, hey guys, this is your car, I had to say, I feel that you're racially profiling me. Okay. Why? Because if I want to receive a monetary compensation, there has to be proof that the other side, so the police or the city, were aware that I was claiming that I was racially profiled. And like I told you about 10 minutes ago, I'm somebody that's very trusting, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to cry wolf and start, people say the race card. I wasn't about that. I felt it, but I wasn't going to speak it at the time of the stop.
So quite literally, you're saying that unless you make a noise in a moment, you're just going to be completely disregarded down the line, which is
for monetary compensation. So
that's still a pretty big incentive that if something happens for you to say something.
Absolutely. So it's very important to speak up, at the time, during, after, and so because I only received the letter to go to court on June 1st, 2010, when the incident happened on July 9th, the year before, that's already almost 10 and a half months of time that has lapsed. So I was already, meaning before I filed my complaint with the Quebec Human Rights Commission, the time had already lapsed. So there was no way I would be able to be compensated at $30,000. I won from a personal standpoint and proving a point standpoint that I did nothing wrong and that the police profiled me. But from a monetary standpoint, I didn't receive a dime.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that's why it's very important that you have to say that. And I still, think about it sometimes that if you do that, you're almost, accusing before, again, you're accusing before knowing the actual facts. Maybe this wasn't the circumstances. Maybe you had a bad day or whatever, you got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, you also can't steer away from who you are as an individual, right? You've got to, if you feel that you're being, trampled on and your rights are being violated or whatever it is, I strongly believe that you got to, kind of stand up and voice those concerns, right? Because it's your pride at the same time. If you got a family, you're looking out for your family as well. Dignity, right? So back to a bit of the question that somebody had about the 2012 incident. So in that same year, while I was waiting for the decision of the December 2012, in March 2012, my wife and I and niece were bringing my son Jax, he was 17 months at the time, to a home daycare, those $7 home daycares. And we were on the South Shore, and it was a four-way intersection, and we crossed. There was a police on the left, and there was cars at every point, right? So, and because there was an officer there, people were kind of hesitant who should go first. And I'm gonna go first. So I just started to drive through, and they turned, and so we were, parallel to each other. Looked at my wife. I said, "I bet you $100 they're gonna turn around," because they just looked over. And again, this was in a BMW. It's a silver BMW at the time. And sure enough, I looked. They did a U-turn in a driveway, came back, followed us. I did a mental check. Okay, is my license good? Is my insurance good? Registration, am I at 10 and 2? Am I, lights out? Everything was perfect. I come to a stop. I look, still wasn't sure if they were, because I didn't want to assume. Because you make an ass out of you and me with assume. So I leaned, went through the stop sign, looked, wanted to see if they were going to turn right. They didn't. They kept on. Put my signal, turn left. Then they paused, but there was no stop sign. And I looked back at my rear view, and I saw them stop there. And I'm like, there's no cars that are going by for them to turn on. So then that gave me concrete, proof that they were coming after me for some unknown reason. So I get out of the car, start unbuckling my son, diaper bag in hand, and they drive past me. And I kind of go like, what do you want? And they drove again, pulled in the driveway, came back. As I made my way around the front of the car, this is my car and the police, and they were facing me, and they rolled down the window and basically said, "Can I see your ID?" And here I have, 20, 30-pound baby in my arm and a diaper bag. And I kind of showed them like, I'm bringing my son, and I can't really, show you my ID. And he said that twice, repeated it twice. I went into the daycare, and I was inside there, and the daycare lady said, what's going on? And I said, "Oh, you remember that story I told you about?" I said, "Well, I think this probably has to do with it again." And she's like, "Oh my goodness." And so we got Jax, undressed and, ready to play. And I went back outside, and they had actually made a turn and went behind my vehicle. And the officer was kind of standing on the lawn meeting me and asking me for my ID. And I had told my wife to call our lawyer. So he was on the line so he could hear what was, transpiring. And I said, "Why are you stopping me?" I said, "You've been following me for like 2 kilometers about." And he said, "Oh no, we're just doing a random stop." I said, "If it was so random, why didn't you do it, that far away, like 2 kilometers back?" "Oh, we do that, all the time," and stuff like that. So my wallet is on my side here. It's it's basically like that. So you can see this is my driver's license here. So I basically went like this to him, and he said, "No, take it out." So I took it out. My wife got the insurance out. Now there was kids, all the kids in the daycare, including my son. It was a husband-wife team. So the husband was taking him to the park, and the wife came out kind of saying to the police, like, "What's going on here?" And all the kids were on the front stoop seeing this transpire. Came back, ran the plates, gave me ID, basically said, "What's going on?" "Nothing. Have a good day." So I know I said some obscenities, or used profanity. and got back into my car and drove home. We were going to head to the office of the logistics company, but decided to drive home. I called CRA right away, so Faux, and he explained to me, he's like, write everything down. Get a map out on Google Maps the distance from where you were to the daycare, and it was actually 1.4 kilometers, and took, I think it was like 3 minutes by car or something. Like, it was a far. They could have pulled me over a lot earlier if it was so random, right? Anyway, so that we did the police ethics complaint, we did the Quebec human rights complaint. And in 2019 or 18, the Quebec Human Rights got involved in the file and said, no, this was a clear case of discrimination and racial profiling against Joel De BelleFeuille. We're going to intervene and we're going to represent him. And then they sent a letter to the city basically stating that this is what they found and this is what they suggest to rectify the situation. Now, the Quebec Human Rights Commission does not oversee, does not have any legal leg to stand on and enforce judgments. It's the Quebec Human Rights Tribunal. And a lot of people make that error, that mistake. So the tribunal is the judge and the commission is the organization that helps people file their complaints. And so that was that. And they basically sent the letter to the city stating that, he wants 12,000 for damages. You guys need to rework the way you train your officers, and we want you to collect race-related data on all of your interceptions that involves visible minorities on the South Shore. Okay. So they wrote back a letter. We gave them 30 days. They wrote back a letter and basically said, no, we don't feel that we did anything wrong here, and we're not doing anything of what you're recommending.
As you got basically profiled twice in a year in the same part of town.
One of them it wasn't twice. It was about a year and a half apart. Yeah.
Still pretty close.
Yeah.
And then one of them gets resolved relatively quick because they gave you a ticket.
The first
one, because it had a ticket, it went into the system right quick. The other one, there's no ticket. It was a have a nice day. You lodged a complaint, and it takes 8 years.
It took 8 years.
Holy smackaroni.
Yeah, because it went back and forth. There's a lot of just bureaucracy that just gets shot around everywhere, pushing papers. And I get it. You don't want to make mistakes. And like I said before, which could possibly damage a person with a career, mentally, socially, whatever. And I get it. But 8 years, I find it's a little extreme. So basically, the city declined. And in the 30-day notice letter, we said to them, you've got the 30 days, so we're gonna sue you. We're gonna take you to court. And they replied, no, we're not, and you're welcome to sue us. So the Quebec Human Rights Commission and myself sued the city of Longeuil and the 2 officers that were involved. And the case was heard in 2020. I think it was beginning of 2020. And the judgment was November 2021. And basically, 68-page decision, 3 judges were on that, and it was littered with the word racial profiling, and which, again, I'm repeating that because if you find any cases that involve visible minority, that term is rarely used. Okay, rarely used. I had it out in 68 pages. I think it was at least 5 times on each page. And the judge ruled in my favor. So they had to award me $12,000. They had to collect race-related data starting in 2021 and provide those results to citizens every 6 months. They had to rework the way they train their police and update their racial profiling program over there. So that's a huge decision. No decision is like that in all of Canada, let alone Quebec. It's the first decision in the history of the Quebec Human Rights Commission, as well as the Quebec Human Rights Tribunal. There's never been a decision where a court has actually mandated and ordered a police force to collect race-related data. So it has huge, huge repercussions where this this judgment can be used in all sorts, of decisions, sectors and industries. There was discussion that it could also assist with or be used for COVID-19 related cases, because I think it was over a year or so, or 8 or 9 months ago, there was a lot of talk of, Blacks and, darker skinned people were more affected or still are more affected by COVID. And if we collect data on, these people or these cases, we'll be able to, kind of figure out how to get to the bottom of things and stuff, which collecting data from people would get the clearer picture of what, could transpire, what's going on and how to, tackle it and help people out. So it's a massive decision, which could be used by any police force across Canada, or mandated, in any future decisions. So it's case law and jurisprudence that could be used against any force or any public safety organization in Canada.
Yeah, that's really big.
Yeah. So
and you're saying it only got resolved last year?
It only got resolved last year, yeah.
That's like wild how long it can take to like deal with something like that. 9 years or so. Yeah.
No, it's really sad that, something like that, would take that long. And again, it's the important part of that decision for me was the race-related data, the change that it actually made and is making and will make in the future, for everybody, not just visible minorities, for anyone. And that this whole, situation that happened to me is part of policy that I'd like to see, happen if I get voted in. However, it's not up there. It's not one of the top, right? But what it did for me, it allowed me to gain that confidence where I could use this, platform that was, so ironically given to me, 12 years ago, where back to what we said before about something wrong, becoming possibly a right. So for me, this opened my eyes, for the last 12 years, the first, few months, first year was, I was more focused. Okay, what is it going to do to me? What is it going to do to my family? What is it going to do to my son? He's going to be driving. He's going to do this. Guarantees going to be stopped. But then, the more that it was exposed, because it was, if you Google my name, there's pages and pages on me about this and, my companies and stuff like that. So it's really been in the media for years. And so I was like, I'm going to use this platform for good to, help others and just, try and do right. We're all in this thing we call life, and we all have the same fate at the end of the day, right? So why not use the good or use the values or anything that is given to you for the better and do the best that you can? So that to me was an opportunity where I felt, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to run with this. I'm going to, I know I wasn't wrong, because everybody that drives a car knows if their license is lapsed or their insurance is lapsed or the registration is lapsed. They know what they're doing wrong. everybody that's driving in their car and there's a police that's beside you do not do anything wrong. They're always 10 and 2. Their hearts are always racing. They're always freaking out. Did I do anything wrong? So if they are pulled over and they know they did nothing wrong, why would you not say something about it? Right? So for me, I'm a very, and there's no pun here, black or white person. So meaning for me, okay, I'm very black or white. There's no need for gray. There's no room for interpretation, because you know when you're doing something wrong, and the other person, because it takes two to tango, also knows. So there's no, it's what he or she has, and it's what myself and I has, as opposed to what's in the middle, right? So there's no room in my mind. You can discuss things, you can talk, you can relate and go back and forth, but then there's also the truth. So you know when you're doing something wrong in a car, so say something about it, speak up about it, right? So for me, it's very important to continue, you know, my life like that, and to speak up for things and do things. If I see things that, you know, I myself or my family or anybody that I care about or love, and let alone, you know, strangers on the street, have them feel better by a gesture that I'm taking the lead on or doing, then I'll do that over 10 times over, and I'll continue to do that, because that's the type of person that I am. I had my back against the wall, you know. One, I hit rock bottom. Two, I was involved in 2 highly publicized human rights cases that woke me up as a person that, you know, there's a lot of good and there's also a lot of bad that's happening, or that has happened, you know, to people. And, you know, do not be afraid to speak up about it, because again, at the end of the day, you are the same. We're all in that same boat. We all, you know, go home to sleep, we eat, you know, we wake up, we, you know, we speak, we do all this. So, and we bleed the same color. So we just need to normalize, you know, simple things down where we can just all get along. And that, like, again, all of that happened to me has guided me to where I am, you know, today. Fortunately enough, last year, you know, party leader, Mr. Holness, you know, asked me if I wanted to join, and I thought about it for a few weeks, and you know, well, here we are, of course. But it just jived, right? It was something that ever since I you know, set myself on that forward sort of path where I wanted to have good things and, you know, rub shoulders with, you know, good people that, you know, knew what they wanted and stuff like that, things started turning around. And that's the cycle, you know, that happened to me. So, you know, fortunate enough, I said yes. And, you know, and here we are today. And that's basically the path that I would continue, you know, as city councillor of Loyola. You know, I've been here for 1.5 years. I've seen a lot of things that are happening, you know, in our district, where you've seen obviously some media about it. You've seen some of my posts on my official Facebook page about it. Where
I've seen those, but there's no guarantee that everyone's seen those.
Well, no, but then you can go to joeldebellefeuille.com or go to Joel De BelleFeuille on Facebook, and you'll be able to see, you know, some of my posts. You can pick up the Suburban and see some things as well. And so basically, you saw some of the things. You know, I live on Walkley. I wanted to, when I moved from the South Shore over here with my family, I wanted to immerse myself in a community, in an area of the community where I felt that I could bring some good, make some changes, where, you know, people that for whatever reasons are less fortunate than others, I wanted to be able to bring the life experiences, that's what I like to call it. It's life experiences that I have, that I went through, that are actually changing laws. I've changed laws, you know. You can go to Canley and pull up multiple case laws and cases where my situations have helped people win their cases, lose their cases, and so on. But because it's case law, it's there. So I said, I'm going to take this, I'm going to immerse myself in a community where I can try and create change for the better, for the people, and do it, you know, methodically, effectively, using the tools that are at the hands of the citizens, which some of them aren't familiar. I know when we had a conversation in the park the other day, I made reference to the Montreal Charter of Rights and Responsibilities, which, if nobody who's listening aren't familiar with it, it's a charter of rights between the city as well as the citizens of all the 19 boroughs of Montreal. It's a social contract that allows citizens to basically invoke to the city if any of those articles are breached. There's about, I think there's 42 or 45 articles that touches on every single topic. Again, I'll go back to wherever you look, wherever you see. So, I mean, if you look at the streets, if you look at the sidewalks, if you look at buildings, if you look at trees and landscapes, infrastructure, the whole 9 yards, it touches on all of that information in the articles. So as a citizen, I invoked that my rights, which also includes my surroundings as a whole, are being breached. And I'll make reference to the, you know, unsightly building on Walkley, where I've had people come up to me, you know, just in conversation, telling me that, you know, it's been 12, 13, 14, 15 years that this building, you know, has had the graffiti, the boards up, 5 foot long grass. Like, it's just, you know, and going back to whoever you keep, that is what you will either be or become or be similar to. So the citizens or residents of this area are walking up and down Walkley Street every day of their lives for however old they are and however long they've lived here. And they're seeing the utter filth, the utter disarray and dismay of that building. And that those children that are also walking there, they're going to be affected by what they see. They're sponges. They're absolute sponges. They take in absolutely everything that they see, that they hear. So they're seeing the state of this area on Walkley and the surrounding streets that they're going to remember when they're 20, 15, 30, 40, 50, 60, until they die. They're going to remember what they grew up in and what kind of mental or social impact do you believe or think that that will have on them in their, you know, in the beyond years? A tremendous amount. And even myself, I was being affected by it. I was, you know, getting upset that, you know, I got to go outside, I got to see garbage, I got to see this building with long grass. I've got to, when I'm walking my dog, I've got to dodge skunks because they're hiding in between 5 foot long, you know, bushes. I mean, that's not cool. That's not the way people should live. That's certainly not the way the people that are living 1 street over or 2 street over and so on, you know, or
I'm over
you know,
on, like, I'm at Rosedale and Fielding. Trust, nobody on Rosedale is living like that.
well, exactly. So I used some articles in the charter to basically say, you know what, CDN NDG, you have breached multiple articles, not only for me, but for the residents in this district. And you're going to do something about it. Again, in a you know, professional manner where, you know, I stated out information as to what articles I was referencing. And within 30 minutes of sending out an email, I received a phone call from somebody from the city explaining to me that they had just received an email and that they were going to look into it, and that it's the OMHM's responsibility to, you know, do something with the building.
What's an OMHM?
The L'Office Montreal, it's the residential affordable housing managerial group like the SDHM, they basically affordable housing for residents. So they own that building that is a disgrace. So he told me.
So it's the affordable housing people own the really bad building and nobody just did anything with it.
You said it. So
That's nifty.
they were basically waiting on funding. The gist of the story, they're waiting on funding from the government in order to, properly allocate those funds to certain projects. And the building, in question was the, one of the buildings that was waiting on that funding. So basically, he told me that either at the time, so 2-3 weeks ago, that he was either going to hear that day or within a couple of days from the director of housing, Dan Pepper, in regards to what was going to transpire. Sure enough, I was on the South Shore. I had to do some banking. I came back home and there was, again, I live right beside, there was an inspector from the city that was kind of poking around in the bushes. And I said, can I help you? And he said, yes. And, he showed me his shirt. He said, I'm with the city. I'm an inspector and just seeing what's going on here. I see some illegal dumping. I see, this, basically everything that was going on. I thanked him, introduced myself, and mentioned to him that this state of the building is absolutely disgusting. I said, it looks like, we're living in Detroit. I've never been there. I'm just referencing, movies that I've seen. One of the movies that reminds me of that was Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg. Right. And he laughed and he said, you know what? He goes, pretty darn close. Okay. And so the next day I woke up to take my dog for a walk, and there were 3 men that had opened, because there's fencing around, that had opened the fence, and they were, putting on their, coveralls, hard hats, and flashlights and crowbars. And again, I introduced myself and I said, what's happening here? And they're like, oh, well, we received, a file, an urgent file, it was marked urgent, that we come here and do an inspection and see what's going on. And I said, well, residents have been saying that the state of this building has been here, 10 plus, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. It's looked like this, and it's important that this gets fixed, because this is appalling. 1 year, not even 1 year, 3 weeks, long grass is there. It should be done. The state of the building should have been taken care of years ago. Basically, they said, Mr. De BelleFeuille, I promise you that Monday or Tuesday of the following week, that at least the grass will be done. Because I said to them, these people across the street and these people that have to walk up and down the street have to see this all the time. I live right here. I see this all the time. The simple aesthetics of cutting the grass and pulling out the weeds that are 5 feet long will make a huge difference. Okay, I need to have that done, please. He said Monday or Tuesday. I said, I'm going to hold you to that. I had his emails and stuff like that. And he said, I can't promise which day, but they promised one of those days. So Monday came and went. Nothing. Tuesday morning, again, walking my dog, coming back. There's 6 guys with a pickup truck, with a ramp extension. There were buzz saws, clippers, the driving lawnmower, fence was open, there and there, raking, cut. That all got done. And the same people, the director of housing was there, and I went up to him and I said, Dan, look, thank you so much. You stuck to your word, and this is a beautiful thing. And if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see, the pictures of, the before and the after. You'll see a video of me basically making reference to what's happening in the background. And then I said, great. now what are you going to do about this building? Because it looks like crap. And, you know, I need to know what's going on, because this is unacceptable. And he said, Joel, he said, look, he goes, the question about this building has been, you know, up for many, you know, many months, many years. But after we did our inspection, we feel that it's probably, but we don't know yet, it will probably be demolished and then rebuilt into affordable housing again. So basically identical to what you see or what's there now, but obviously brand new. So I said, I need timing, because this should not take this long. And he said, look, he goes, probably we're going to start demolishing in the springtime. I go, 2022? He said, yes. I said, okay, at least now we're moving somewhere, right? At least the grass is done, the aesthetics. I saw people walking up and down the street actually stopping and looking, taking pictures, because it's day and night. And I would go out and I spoke to them and I said, well, you know, see what's happening here? I made that happen. I sent a letter to the city to make this happen, because this is correct. What? All you did was send a letter? And I said, well, it wasn't just a letter. And then I made reference to the charter. Oh, well, we've called 311 on this building so many times. We were on hold for an hour. Nobody answered. We've sent letters, emails, we called. Nobody has done anything. They don't send somebody to come and pick up the garbage. Nothing. They do nothing. And I said, well, you know, and I laughed, but laughed kind of, you know, uncomfortably, that why should I, you know, be the one to make change, where you have the citizens that are actually, you know, that have been here, you know, freaking forever, that can't get anything done. So that made me think a lot more that, you know, it's just not right. Fast forward about another 6 days, Holden, I wake up to backing up of a truck. Beep, beep, beep. So again, I go outside, start walking the dog. There's another crew outside from a company called CanMax Construction. Hard hats, the full 9 yards. There was a boom lift that was beside the building. And what they were doing were they were taking down the bricks, because the bricks had kind of buckled. So it was kind of like a, you know, an arch, and it was dangerous, and it was somewhere falling. And I introduced myself again, and they said, well, we received another urgent file that we had to come here. We don't know what it is, but we would have came earlier, but we couldn't rent a boom truck because boom trucks were not available right now. But we were told we had to do this and drop everything that we were doing and be here. That was from one of the supervisors. So what they were doing was they were removing all the bricks, and they were putting up a plastic sort of tarp to kind of reinforce the side and the structure of the building. And it took them 7 days to actually do it. And again, there's those photos, and I believe a video or so on my Facebook page that shows the before and after, which again is absolutely remarkable from what it was before. And all of that was done through the issuance of the Montreal Charter of Rights and invoking some of the articles that have been breached.
So I have like one question. In theory, though, if everybody invokes the charter at the same time, do we go back to the same position?
It would be a mess. It would be chaotic. The body that handles complaints is a Montreal ombudsman. And so if the city does not, and again, this counts for all boroughs, if the city does not react or act, so either respond to your email or actually get something done to your query, and you're not satisfied with what is done, your resort is a Montreal ombudsman. If you invoke the articles, if you don't invoke the articles, you can still go to the ombudsman, but it essentially stops there. And they try and do a, you know, conciliation or whatever, trying to figure it out. It's a very important document. I can send you the link after. But if it all
I think I found it on your site after we talked.
Yeah, on joelndg.com, I have it up there. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's a very, very, if you Google it, there's, I think, minimal results that come up on Google about.
I am pretty sure your page comes up, and that's how I ended up finding your site. Because we talked, I went home, I Googled it, and there wasn't a lot, but you have a good SEO page for it. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I built that site. I built all my sites myself, but it's a very important document that anybody that's listening or will listen, they should really take a look at it. It's not complicated. It's, you know, it's simple language that is easy to understand. And to answer your question, if everybody invokes a charter all at the same time, it would not be a good situation at all. It would probably be pretty chaotic. But I'm not stressing for everybody to do that. But if you feel that you're getting nowhere and your wheels are spinning in grease and you have no other alternative, you have that right. Just like you have the right for the Quebec Human Rights Charter, as well as the Canadian, you know, Charts of Rights and Freedom. You have that. The Montreal Charter of Rights and Responsibilities is the only document in the entire world, the only city in the entire world that has a document like this, where the city actually has a Charter of Rights. Multiple companies, cities are trying to adopt the similar articles and trying to create a charter similar as the Montreal's charter. It was founded in 2006, and it's available for all the boroughs and for anybody to use. And on the site, it actually states, on the PDF file, 28-page PDF file, it says that it's a social contract between the city and its citizens. Okay.
That's wild.
So
it's wild to me because, like, I mean, I know I had this reaction like when we first talked, but you go your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Or at least since 06. Basically my whole adult life is that period of time. Not once did I hear about it until I met you in Burgundy.
Yeah. It's, and believe it or not, I only heard about it when I went digging. I was speaking with the other candidates, and I said, you know what, this is appalling, the street. I said, there's gotta be something out there, you know, like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If the city can, you know, be at your doorstep after 3 weeks or a month and fine you because your grass is long, why can't the citizens say, well, you know, that property you own or that you manage or that, you know, your tenant, so the OMHM owns, why can't we force them to do the same? It's just, you know, so because I have the, you know, the background of what has happened to me, you know, for the last 12 years, I am very hands-on. I read, I research, and, you know, I look at certain things that, you know, I wouldn't use the word loophole. It's not a loophole. It's an actual documentation that was created by the city of Montreal to basically, you know, be an open book that, look, we are transparent. We will help you when you need help, but you as a citizen and resident of Montreal and the boroughs, you know, you are also obliged and to do this. So that's why I use the analogy of what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So if your grass is long and they come to you, well, if their grass is long, then you can go to them. You know,
that's wild.
So I searched and it took me, you know, 3-4 hours, and I came across this document, and, you know, I asked multiple people and they hadn't heard about it. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is a, I wouldn't say a gold mine, but a very valuable document where, you know, citizens of Montreal and obviously CDN NDG, Loyola district, should read up on, look at it, you know, and a final last resort, you can always have that to kind of,
Out of
fall
quick
back on.
curiosity, is there articles in there, because I haven't read it, related to cracks in the street?
Yeah. There's
Fascinating.
articles. They don't use cracks in the street. They use reference of roads, infrastructure, and sidewalks, etc. So that yes. So what is also different is that if you just send a regular letter, an email, or etc., that will go into a pile on their desk where they're not obliged to answer you in the amount of time that, they'll answer you whenever they want to answer you. They'll get around to it. But when you invoke the articles, it's a legal document. It's a well, it depends on how it's drafted. I drafted it like a formal letter of notice, like a demand letter. So I put in specific things that I wanted to see and have happen in a certain period of time. So that time for me was 10 days, 10 calendar days. I wanted to see results or a response of what will or could happen in the 10 days. And if I was not happy or am not happy with any of that information, then my last resort is a Montreal ombudsman. Okay, so those 10 days or whatever, it could be 7, it could be 3, it could be 10, it could be 30, whoever is invoking and drafting the letter, it's up to them to decide. So if they don't answer, well, or don't rectify whatever you're having an issue with, well, then it just goes. It goes to the ombudsman. So they reacted within 30 minutes, which was absolutely impressive. And, kudos, to the city, to the workers, to the mayor, to reacting to getting, this done. It's not again, we're all in this thing called life. We're all, trying to, advance ourselves for our family, our friends, our loved ones. We just want to live and be happy and, be in, comfortable surroundings. And so invoking the letter was not I guess a harsh move. It was a move that allowed me to actually invoke my rights for myself and fellow citizens to get this eyesore of a building up a notch where people can actually see that something is being done about it. Again, going back to what I said, walking on the street, people are stopping me, that I had spoke to before. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. People are stopping, taking pictures. They're turning their heads when they're driving by because it's that much of a difference, right? And so for me, it was important, that get done in the allotted time that was given to the city. Another example of the invocation of the articles in the charter was Confederation Park. I think since I announced my candidacy, people are seeing what I'm about, what I've done, my human rights advocacy.
I just have to say, as far as candidates go,
yes,
I don't know that I've heard of a candidate that accomplished things not being in office quite in the way that you did. So that's definitely remarkable.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and that means a lot.
I definitively can't say it hasn't happened before.
Yeah,
at
no.
least in my knowledge of what's happening.
Yeah. So back to Confederation Park, I received a Facebook message from a guy by the name of Mike, and he is the founder of the Facebook group, the NDG Roadrunners, and he had saw or heard of what I had helped to accomplish here on Walkley, and he said, look, I was speaking with our 25, 30 plus runners here, and they're absolutely appalled with the way this Confederation Park, the racetrack looks like. It's absolutely disgusting. Again, 5-foot weeds and bushes around the fenced off area. The bike rack, like we can't see anything. I want to invite you down here and speak with them. And I don't know if you can do something, you can try. So, I went there a few days later and looked, and again, there's Facebook pictures, on my official page, which depicts the situation and what it, looked like, and it was appalling. So I spoke with the group of 25, 30 plus people, and I said, look, I'm going to try and repeat what I did with the appearance of, the building on Walkley, to see if I can do it here. I said, I'm not promising anything, but I'll go back and look at the charter, and I'll see if there's any articles in there that actually, communicates to and references what is actually transpiring to this park and the look of it. So I gave it some thought. I left the park. I went back home, started Googling and researching again on, different things. I looked at the charter, and I found, I believe it was 4 articles where they specifically reference in the articles sports and recreation and parks. And they use the word high quality parks. That is not a high quality park. So I put pen to paper, drafted up the almost the exact same formal letter that I did for Walkley, and did the exact same thing. And I didn't hear anything. And on the 10th day, I actually wrote down, I think I have it here. I wrote down in my book, I was counting days. And when you have, if something happens today, do you count today, or do you don't count today? Do you start tomorrow? So I was never very good at that. So I wrote it physically down, and I've got to show you this because it was so, I wrote it down, the dates down, and I started counting, and I'm like, okay, does this fall on the 9th day, or does this fall on the 10th day? And sure enough, it was the 10th day. And I got I can't find it. I got a text, ironically, at 9:30 in the morning from Mike saying, they're here, the city's here. I said, what? I said, you gotta be kidding me. And so I texted him back, and then, he didn't answer me. He ended up calling me and saying, I can't believe it. I came here and I see them, doing the start, I said, look, I've got to go do an oil change at 10 o'clock. It was 9:55. I was doing it at Gordon's. And I was like, I'm going to go there before I go to Gordon's, and I'll be there, in 2 minutes. So I buzzed up there. I was there in like a minute flat, 2 minutes flat. And sure enough, I saw the, big city truck. They had a dump truck with the arm, and they had literally started cutting the track. And 2 days later, Mike sent me an email that he received from the city. I said, Mike, have you ever received a letter from the city before? He said, no. He goes, never. He goes, I've called them. I spoke with them to try and get them to, it hasn't been done in over a year. So let's get this straight here. They come in, they cut the grass where people play soccer or rugby. They cut all around the trees, but they don't do the simple job of aesthetics by taking a whippersnipper or clippers to cut the hedges. And I use this analogy before when talking with somebody. I said, it's like going to a car wash, paying for an entire car wash, or your whole car getting washed, but they only wash your windows.
Right.
Okay. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's like, why bother? For me, if I was in charge of public works, I would either fire the company that was hired to do the job, okay, because they're not doing the job right. If they're being paid, X amount of dollars that they've been allocated to receive for the entire year contract, or whatever it is, 6 months, whenever they start cutting the grass, and they're excluding doing the simple aesthetics, but you're still taking the money that we're giving you, and you're not doing the job, you're getting fired. Or
so are you able to do that? I've heard, talking to some of the more I'm already elected folk, that's a little more complicated than it might
be. It is, but from a dummying down sort of conversation, and again, right? I'm going to use his words twice. I'm going to use bureaucracy. We need to bring it down a little bit. And there's sometimes in some circumstances that bureaucracy needs to take a shelf, and common sense, like if we're paying you to cut the grass, that means the weeds and everything else that goes with it. Okay. Otherwise, I'm not going to pay you, or I'm going to find somebody that does it, because there's the reason why I say that. There's no reason why other parks in this district have the weeds and bushes cut and the grass cut. But why not Confederation? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's wild, because right next to a high school.
Well, you know what? I agree with you, but at the same time, not to disrespect you, but so what to, you know, to the city, right? It's like,
Yeah.
why are you making this pretty and that ugly, or keeping that ugly
Right.
and making this pretty, you know? And that's where I go back to where I was saying black and white. There's no, this is just common sense. Is that if you're hiring a team of people to take care of the grass, and you're picking and choosing how you want the appearance of one part to look than the other, there's not many reasons why you would need to do that. There's cutting back on funds, or you just don't give a crap about that area where that park is located. There's not many other.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a strong, bold sort of statement, but
I am very okay making those kinds of strong, bold statements. I personally think gentrification don't give a crap about who used to live here, but that's
no, but
like
what
even in that area, like the area you're talking about is not renowned for being the most whitest, middle classest, nicest area. It's kind of on the other end of it.
Right, but again, how come with my letter invoking 4 articles of the charter, how did that get done? That was not a coincidence. That was done because they received that letter. So why? Who am I? I'm a private citizen invoking my rights as a citizen of NDG that the city breached multiple articles in regards to that park. So I get what you're saying, that, oh, well, they didn't, you know, the park. Absolutely.
I don't agree with anything the city does with regards to picking and choosing. Like, I'm like straight up there. I'm just saying, in my experience, they tend to pick and choose. Like,
right. Well, if elected, I will try to, obviously I'll have to, you know, learn the bureaucracy and what it actually entails, you know, deeply, you know, in the roots, you know, of the council. But I will, you know, make myself heard in regards to, like, you know, we need to, there's certain things, again, going back to the analogy of the car wash and the windows, that just doesn't make sense. You're not going to pay for something, and then, you know, I understand there's probably certain budgets that need to be, you know, cut, brought down, but, you know, your people, your citizens of the district, they you know, need some lifters, right? They need some morale lifters. So I went back there to the park, and, you know, and Mike was ecstatic. It looks so much better. It's brighter. They still need to, you know, get the lights fixed, because
that
solar.
Yeah. The lights are not fun. I used to run there, and like the lights in that area are wildly scary at night.
Well, yeah, and I mean we're I mean right now, we're 8 o'clock and it's pitch black outside, but, you know, Mike was telling me, he's like, you know, Joel, at like 5, 6 o'clock here in November or whatever, October, like it's pitch black here. So that brings up another articles, is safety and security. So the city, through the charter, says that we will, you know, protect our citizens. We are going to make sure that they're okay. Well, you're not, by leaving this park with the lights non-functioning because it's dark. If they work solely by solar, they're not going to go on at night, right? Only for a temporary amount of time. So why not fix those simple things where the people that are utilizing the park, which are, you know, some of the students, there's you, there's, you know, a lot of people that are using those parks. So why not uplift the spirits? People aren't asking for, you know, university type, you know, tracks and stuff. They're just like, look, just cut the grass, like, or you know, fix the lights. These aren't big things. These aren't big things. The same thing with cutting the grass here. You know, in 15 years, you don't cut the grass. Why? It's just, these are small, you know, pay a kid $20, cut the grass, right? So, I'm getting a little worked up there, Holden.
No, I mean, like,
no, it's because I'm passionate
person
about,
who like lives here. It's super interesting to see like the passion, dedication you have to like making the change happen. I mean, I imagine once you're in power, it's a lot more complicated.
And I completely agree with you on that. And I was actually told that, and I completely agree with you. You know, and I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, there's, you know, there's also, you know, morality and dignity that's also involved in it as well. We're not robots. We're not, you know, programmed. You know, we're people. Yes, we make mistakes, but at the same time, we also have, you know, emotions, sentiments, and feelings that, you know, together can possibly give us better judgments and things. Not everything has to be a suit and completely square. You know, they can be, you know, just like people, we're multiple colors or multiple different personalities. So it just doesn't need to always be like that. And for me, it's extremely important. I'm passionate that this city, this district, it has so much potential that, you know, it's basically an old dusty book that needs to be dusted and cleaned and restored. The book doesn't need to be rewritten. It just needs to be dusted off. And right. That's what I would hopefully like to, not hopefully, what I would accomplish, you know, if I'm hopefully, you know, voted into office.
So outside of like the parks and stuff, are there any other, I guess, things that you feel are like important issues for the Loyola district?
Absolutely. There's going back to human rights. I want to see the children. I want to see school programs or, you know, like in the community centers for Walkley, and hopefully, I think, you know, something's being voted in tonight, hopefully for the Rosedale, that's great. Where, you know, there's after school schooling or programs where, because it starts with the kids, right? The kids need to know, you know, because they're sponges. They watch television. They you know, they have the, you know, phones in their hands and their tablets, so they're very apparent to what is going on with them. But they're not, you know, sat down and explained. You know, people are different. You know, that's the reason why Joey and Emma look this way and you look this way, right? And so I want to focus on, you know, one of the policies in creating these programs where the children are educated. It's not just about sports, of course. You know, sports is a key thing, but integrate, you know, learning programs that teaches these kids that, you know, people are different, started at a young age, and then when they're in their teens, they're going to have more of a welcoming demeanor, you know, amongst their peers in the schools. Another thing is a skate park. I was reached out to the members of the Facebook group that are looking to create, you know, state-of-the-art skate park at Benny Park. I'm all for that. Why? Because you can do scooters, you can do BMXing, which I used to do years ago. You know, you got rollerblading, roller skating, and of course, skateboarding. So it's hitting multiple birds with one stone. You know, what's there now? Yeah, it's nice. It's there. Sure, you can do what you need to do. But again, it's all about just uplifting the community and bringing them together where everybody's living in harmony. I know it's a utopia that I'm saying, but the simple things, you know, it's like an anthill can become a mountain. So you do a little bit for your community, they will in turn, love you back, and not knowing that the small things actually amount to big things. People don't want to see a massive change here. They just want to see the simple things that will encourage them to be, uplift, a little bounce in their step, and, go out, spend, obviously I say spend money, but we're in a pandemic, but like prior to that, go out to the restaurants. I'm a huge advocate for small businesses. As you see what's, been in the media as well, there's the dog scouts, and their unfortunate, happening that they have with the city in regards to their location there. I have a background, obviously, in two corporate companies. One of them is going public, another is public. I have a consulting company. I do multiple things myself to project my companies. So I have that experience. I want to create basically a package, a bubble, a hub of, basic things. So, products, printing, communication, funding. I want to create that hub for small businesses so that they can thrive, because without those small businesses, they're not going to. What do you
mean by that hub? How do you picture that hub being?
An incubator. So basically, an incubator is basically all in multiple sectors or industries, whatever the businesses are around here. So, for example, if you're a print shop, you'll give the members of the incubator a certain discount so that the money stays within that incubator, and everybody, all the businesses benefit from what's going on. So if you're a printing shop and I'm a business that want documentation, printed out, just thought I had something here, but basically if I want information printed out like this, for example, right? So instead of going to Bureau en Gros and paying an arm and a leg, why don't you support your fellow small business that's in your community, that's going to give you a 10 or 15 or 20% discount, whatever it may be, and then vice versa. And then that extra 15, 20 or 25% that small business keeps, they can use that money to reinvest into growing their business, which, will help them to grow and to expand, right? If you're, a financing company, not if you're a bank, if you're a private investor, it's difficult to get funding if you go straight to the bank, right? Or if you do these, programs with the government, it takes months, it's long, it's confusing. You might have private investors in that incubator that are like, look, for 5% or 2% of your company, or I'll help you out, or look, it's a loan, just give me a 5% return on the ROI and go, right? Those are things that will help the small businesses thrive, in this community, and that's what we need. We need, like I said, we need a bounce in our step. I want to do a project on Summerlet. Summerlet streets are like 60 feet across, and there's no yellow markers, there's no white lines on the road for pedestrians to cross. Why? Why? You go over on, in Moncton, everything's there,
I have literally never thought about that once in my life. Like with regards to like street lines and stuff, like I just never thought about it. It was like, it's probably
those are simple things that, one, will make people happy, and two, could possibly save a life. So you're at Best, what's it called there? Best, right beside Moncton Grill. Right. So from there all the way up to Walkley, so at the top of Walkley in Summerlet, there's nothing there where the Jean Coutu and the Providence go, only going west. So the pedestrians can walk across there. But if you want to walk that way, it's non-existent. Okay, you've got Randall straight up and Summerlin. It's a giant four-corner death trap to people. So I want to slow it down, put the yellow lines, put up those $100 fines because people speed there. I've seen police fly by there at like 70, 80 kilometers an hour answering, obviously some alarm. But there's people crossing the streets. They don't have time to stop at the intersection of going 80 kilometers an hour on a section where you should be going 40. right? There's a lot of people walking around there. So just those small things, upkeeping the outside appearance of these, small businesses on that strip, small business owners and restaurants on that strip, Restaurantilos, as well as Olivia's, the Indian restaurant, where it's like they need a little, sprucing up. Yes, it's probably the landlords that would have to take care of that, but then the landlord has to get with the city to get, the permit to be able to do this. But if they all collaborate together, dark, all, black all around trimming, aluminum trimming on the outside of the upkeep, planters, 3 planters in those sections of the streets that are dangerous, that slows cars down, your yellow, pedestrian $100 fines. Those are small things. But those are small things that will really, make our community a lot happier. The small upkeeps of the parks, regular maintenance of them. I see they're doing the paving of the roads right now, which is a huge difference. They explained to me, because I mentioned Walkley, I mentioned, Lower Randall and Montclair and so on. They said, oh, it's not currently, in this budget right now. You can bring it up again in the next administration. It might go to next year. We're focused on Isabella on the other side, right? But I see them doing Cavendish, which is great because that's a landmine that I'm sure people have broken a few axles trying to dodge all the multiple cracks and holes. So it's great that that's getting done. And that's it. It's basically just really going back to that analogy, dusting off that book, wiping it off, cleaning the pages, and bringing it back to what it was, and bring it to a potential where the residents are actually, more happier. They're happy now because, what's not to be happy about here? But imagine how happy, and again, I'm just a private citizen and I'm getting multiple emails, at least 3 a week, about people. Oh, this park over here. Oh, can you do this? Can you help me with that? Let's talk about the skate park. And it's very endearing. It's really cool. It's heartwarming. And I mean that from, the bottom of my heart. But again, hey, it's just me. Like, I'm nobody special. These people could do the exact same thing if we collectively as a community, okay, they can do the exact same thing. What are you laughing for?
I'm in the hip hop community. That whole idea of these people could do the same thing is an extremely relatable sentiment. So I'm not laughing in the sense of diminishing what you're saying. It's just, it's actually really true. The number of people that aren't willing to Google things and take that 4 hours to go in that investigation. I went through this with online streaming. I ended up writing a 1,400-word doc file to deal with the questions asking me how to stream on Twitch. I'm like, y'all know I spent like months learning things, right? Like that's how I got. Anyway, so I empathize entirely with the idea. But even as you're talking, I'm like, this is really nifty. I mean, I can say I didn't know about a charter, and sometimes you don't know what to Google, and that's a fair point.
Well,
but even to that end, the fact that you found it, like, is wild. I would argue maybe your life experience has you thinking a little more policy than other people, so that's an advantage to you. But otherwise, the overall sense of what you're saying does resonate with me. Like, how is it? Even the other option is petitions, because anyone else could have taken the petition route, which would have possibly led to the same results, from what I understand.
Months later. Right now,
it's still relative to 15 years.
Well, yes, exactly. Because, there was an election that was called, any petitions, they're not accepting petitions right now. And the change.org petitions, they have no, guts to them when it comes to, kind of coercing or wanting to create change at a city level.
Christian Arsenal had told us you need those postal codes.
Yeah, because it adds more credence to than just a name on a piece of paper, right? So I'm actually familiar with that. I had a petition. It was a House of Commons e-petition that was going around from May 26th until well, it was supposed to go on until August 26th, where we were asking the federal government to prohibit and ban systemic racism and racial profiling by organizations that fall under the Public Safety Act of Canada. And so this petition was endorsed by two members of Parliament, Matthew Green, which is an NDP, and then Greg Fergus, who's a Liberal Party member. So we were to collect 500 signatures, and what we were asking within the scope of that e-petition was all of these organizations, so, the RCMP, Canada Customs, all the police bodies, STCM, they're all receiving funding, okay? What the details were in the petition was they obviously go through a streaming process of approval before they're get that wire transfer of millions and millions of dollars with that check, right? So we just wanted to include that they had to have an action plan on fighting systemic racism and racial profiling, right? So if they have 10 checks that they have to go through, make an 11th, and that 11th you have to have that action plan. If you don't have that action plan and you have all 10 others but you don't have the 11th, we're not going to cut you that check,
right?
Okay, which is not a defund the police. It is a let's work with you, police, because you need these funds to combat who you're saying are responsible for. You understand? It's they're saying that visible minorities, blacks, etc. They're the ones that are causing we don't have to go into that, but that's what it's saying that. But you're not populating money together to actually do something about it. You have zero action plans to actually try and work with the people that you're actually referencing and accusing of doing certain things or why you need the money. So, there was no logic in that. So, collectively, we created this e-petition, which we were supposed to get 500 signatures, but we were told by Greg Fergus, the Liberal member of Parliament, said that we are hearing through the grapevine that there's going to be an election called, and if that's the case, this e-petition will get thrown out, okay? And then you have to start all over again. So we didn't get our 500 bloody signatures, and now we have to start all over again. But it's okay. You can look it up on my site. You can Google it. It made its rounds, in regards to that. Another good thing, I started a nonprofit organization called the Red Coalition out of that, which is basically solely to combat, discrimination and racism and racial profiling. And we're actually have received an email from stopmtl.ca, which I think you heard of. They came out, I think about 2 months ago. It's an interactive map where people, all sorts, all colors, anybody who's driving a car can actually document in real time their police interception on a map. And then in February, they're going to release those results to the public in a non-biased way, where here are the results.
That is a sincerely Montreal approach to that problem. Like, we literally made a transit app that was basically the same concept. Like, we don't trust the STM anymore. We're going to rely on us to feed when the buses are coming. That's amazing.
So it's Stop MTL. I don't know if you heard of it or saw it, but
I haven't heard of it before. My life can be a little bit caught in the rabbit hole of what I do over here. So it's often times like this I get exposed to it. But it's incredible how many things you're involved with. The one thing I definitely have to remember to ask is, what with all of your analytical mind, do you have any ideas for like the environments or the green actions that the Loyola district can take that you could like push forward?
Yeah, so some of the spaces that are, like I said, either government owned or empty lots, so to speak, you can turn that into, places, smaller parks, where, there's room, for expansion, there's room for growth, of greenery. We need to look at the whole, picture in regards to these areas that can be transformed, for the better, for the environment, as opposed to just, like I said, keeping it long grass, cement on the bottom, blue bonnets, for example. That's, geez, I'm 46 now. I went there once when they were actually doing horse racing. I can't even remember how old I was. So, and how long it's been in that stage, right? So there's so many things that can be, done into that regard. So many empty lots. They can either be turned into, affordable housing, environmentally friendly. Also, sort of has something to do with it. The cleanliness of the garbage bins and the recycling bins. Okay, I'm gonna bring that up. And give a shout out to a company that's actually on my Facebook account. I believe it's called, actually I don't remember. It's a West Island company where they started cleaning these bins, and they have monthly contracts, weekly contracts where these bins are being cleaned, and it all the dirt and liquid goes. They take the water, the dirty water that's clean, and they go and they bring it to a filtration plant and put it in, and then come out, and then the water is clean again, right? And so that's what I wanted to bring up in regards to the environment. I think it's an amazing idea. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. It was I think it was a Montreal Gazette sort of post on Facebook. I wrote on the thing, and they wrote back, thanks. I said, look, I'd love to see what I can do, because right now they're only on the West Island, and they haven't kind of merged over here. But the website, I gotta find that website. But it's on my post on my official page. You can see it. So I think that's important to bring a service like that to NDG and to the rest of Montreal, because it's cleanliness, right? It all has to do with it's important for people to see their environment, not only do good for it, but also the appearance of it is actually being upkept. So it's two birds with one stone. You're cleaning it, you can recycle the water, and it'll just, I wanna be able to make that happen, not only for our district, but then have it kind of instilled in every other borough, because I think it's a great policy that can do very, very, very good for the environment.
That's super dope. Honestly, like, you had a lot of answers, like, for things, actionable things. I don't know, maybe I just speak that language better, but it seemed a lot more concrete than other, not like to say other people, but just in general, anything I've heard about local city politics. And more, usually the elected people are vaguer because they have to be, and the candidates don't have maybe the same practical get stuff done experience. So it's really interesting to hear your like take on how to tackle things. And then obviously when you get to power, it's a different beast. I understand that there's other people that aren't elected involved in this process that may not have the same political motivations as the elected officials, so it gets a little murkier. But you do seem to have a good sense of dealing with people experience that comes with it all too.
Well, that's my my Instagram. What's my Instagram handle?
I know I looked at it, but I cannot remember it.
It's Dealmaker001. Right. So it's and that's what it is. At the end of the day, there's always, it takes two to tango. There's two sides to tango. In business and in life, and it's, again, I'm an open book. I'm extremely visible online. So, if people didn't, catch everything that I'm saying now, everything is very easily Googleable, if that's a word. My site, joelndg.com or joeldebellefeuille.com, all the press releases and everything, pictures about me. So, once in office, hopefully there's no real constraints where I can't, communicate, properly how I'm communicating now, with constituents, because it's very important for me. I'm reachable all the time, email, phone, WhatsApp, Facebook, all my platforms. It's something that I would like to continue and would continue, because again, at the end of the day, we're all in this thing called life together, right? And we've got to learn to thrive together. Even if you don't want to, it's you do what you got to do, right? You got to do. Everybody does what they need to do to be able to put that foot forward when they get up in the morning. Right. And to me, that's extremely important. And why not? Why not want to have your surroundings looking good? Why not walk down the street and be able to wave to somebody and they wave back to you and you don't know them from Adam, right? And go to the grocery store and stuff is clean. Walk down the street not seeing garbage on the floor where you got to spend 2 hours yourself, true story, and pick up garbage areas and clean it up and put on gloves and it's these. I'm not doing anything that the average Joe cannot do. I'm doing it for one. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to see that, right? So it has zero to do with politics. I'm that person. I will go out there to the end and do what I need to do to accomplish what I need to accomplish. And I don't stop. And I don't give up, as you saw my 12 years of fighting, a municipality. So I have patience.
Honestly, even thriving in traffic tech takes, from what I understand, it's not the simplest thing to thrive in.
No, it's not. It's I got out of that business and it's just jumped into something, something absolutely completely different because it's, you learn, and I love to learn. I love to, understand, people, be able to communicate to them, have, because it gives you a glimpse into possibly what's going on in their life. And, you can maybe help them by possibly noticing, something, and, and to me, that's really important. Like I said, I'm adopted. Yes, I found my biological family. I was living in Dorval. They were living in Côte-de-Neige, right across the street over there. And, that affected me emotionally and as a person because it defined me. It was basically two pieces of the puzzle that were coming together. I was, raised for 18 or 19 years of my life, not knowing who I was essentially. And then, the other half, meeting and my biological family, and then finding out that I had friends that actually knew them, but didn't put the two and two together. But it completed me and it made me as one. So, the two sides collided and it made me who I am now and made me realize and wake up to that, it's just try and do good, be your best person, put your best foot forward and just enjoy and not everything has to be so because when these people that are doing when they go home, they're kicking up their feet, they're cracking open a beer, they're doing whatever they need to do like everybody else does. But then when they go back in, it's that, they're no, like again, dummy it down a bit. We've just are still going through a global pandemic that in our lifetime, this will hopefully be the only one that we're going through, but it's given a lot of people the time to reflect on who they are as an individual, what they want to do in life, what they wish they did in life, but maybe are running out of time to do. It's given a lot of people the absolute time to reflect on how to better themselves as a person. So I think that this municipal election is going to be extremely interesting, so much that, you know, you're rolling up your arms and you're getting popcorn, because it's going to be, I think it's going to be something very interesting, because all parties are extremely different. There's a lot of diversity, you know, in regards to the candidates, you know, visually, a lot of ethnicities that are coming into play.
I would say every party decided to at least try to go in that direction a little more this time.
Yeah, and it's great. It is absolutely wonderful. Whatever motives they may be, if it's for the hey, look, I mean, you gotta.
It's honest. It's a very honest situation.
If there are motives, and if there are not motives, it's still a good thing to see, because it defines the city of Montreal, that we are all different, that we are all unique, we're all shapes and sizes, colors, heights, widths, whatever you want, we're all different. And that is a first, you know, including federal, you know, so basically that's going to give people a very, let's say entertaining, but more of a unique mindset to when they get to the polls.
As I understand it correctly, a lot of colors that are not mine have commonly stated, I don't see myself represented there, so I don't give a, and end it. And so this at least allows you to see people of all ethnicities pretty much all over the city on these posters, I imagine, after the federal ones disappear.
Yeah, I'm sure that it will jog a few of those people's thoughts that, hey, maybe I shouldn't think this way. Maybe why all of these people that aren't you are coming to, you know, to the table to, you know, raise their hand is actually going to be actionable and really actually create change. It's different. Like I said, we have never gone through this pandemic. None of us, nobody listening to this, nobody in the world in their lives have gone what everybody has had to gone through in the last year and a half, almost 2 years. So we don't know what's around the corner. And I strongly believe that it's going to play a major factor in the election, because people have more time to stay at home, read, inquire, research, listen, and they're becoming smarter and more in tuned to their surroundings and what's actually is going on. And that's going to play, I believe, an important factor in this election this year, you know. And I think it's going to be one of those, bookie type things where you can, it's going to be, 1 to 10,000 or 1 to, like, it's really, the odds, I think, are going to just take people by surprise. I strongly believe that. And why? It's because people, by their actions and through their actions, are demanding change, whether through their voice, whether it's online, or whether it's subliminal. It's all happening. There's a buzz in the city right now, right. Good or bad. There is you walk under multiple hydro lines. You hear that bzzz going on. That is what's happening in the city today and now, because we have had time for that reflection on ourselves as human beings, as people residing in this great city of Montreal. And it's going to be a surprise. I think it's going to be a major surprise in November, and it'll be a surprise for the better, because it's what the people want. It's what they will dictate to the current administration. I'm talking here in CDN NDG, as well as, the city of Montreal. Things will change for the better. We're more enlightened and in tuned to what's happening, because we had that time out, so to speak, to gather our thoughts of bettering ourselves.
That's really fair. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I am not 100% sure what else to ask you at this point. I think you have effectively expressed both your life and the way you approach things, which is super nifty to see. I don't know. It was a good interview. Like, it's a good conversation.
It was great. You can reach out to me anytime, my friend.
You definitely have your links below in the description, so they got it. But joelndg.com. That one was stuck with me. But with that, do you have any like last thoughts or anything you want to impart to the people?
Sure. Just just go to the polls with with an open mind. Check out mouvementmtl.com. It will give you more insight into the party's policies and strategies to our campaign. Visit joelndg.com to familiarize yourself with me as a person, my companies, and essentially what I've gone through, some of my views. It's very intriguing. I actually, ironically, received a phone call probably a couple of hours before doing this interview from Canal Media. Basically, it's a French station, Savoir Media. It's basically a French station that wanted some, information on me as well. So there'll be multiple opportunities to kind of get to know me, as a person. Again, my phone is always open. My email, joel@mariana.ca, is there to receive your emails. WhatsApp me, reach me on my Facebook account. I'm there for anybody. And like I said, keep an open mind when you go to the elections. Montreal, we're an extremely diverse and in-tuned political party that is not like the others. And you have somebody that has already managed to demonstrate as a private citizen what my capabilities are in regards to how to getting things done. And I will continue to do that once in office.
That's incredible, Joel. And thank you for being here, and thank all y'all for watching this too, because at the end of the day, there's been people watching, and that's incredible. Make sure to check out all his links and stuff, and for those of you watching in the future, like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. On that note, everyone, it's been a pleasure to have you all here. Again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for doing this, Joel. Like, it does mean a lot to me. Like, it's kind of
I
like,
appreciate it.
from my end, it's like, how am I talking to a local politician? Anyway, so it's like, it's really cool that we're out.
You're doing something right. You probably woke up on the wrong side of the bed one day and it was for the better.
That's facts, man. So yeah, and I appreciate that. Shout out to everyone who watched. I see DJ Hyperactive just showed up. There's actually people here to check it out. Like, people are like getting interested in it. So I'm really glad that y'all are participating with me.
Great.
I don't know. So I guess with that, live long and prosper, everyone. It's been a great time.